I'm here to tell you that everything you've been taught about working harder to get ahead is not just wrong. It's the exact reason that you're stuck and operating beneath your true potential. Right now, we are getting bombarded by a lot of Navy SEAL, hustle and grind, A-type masculine alpha male personalities saying you should just wake up at 5 a.m., outwork the person next to you, and if you don't outwork them, when you meet them, they will win. Hustle culture has become an identity that people use to justify sacrificing their whole lives, their relationships, their health, their spirituality at the altar of success. And yes, you can produce some results by grinding yourself into the ground, but they're not sustainable. And most people who pedestal hustle culture are operating from a place where all their energy has to go into producing and sustaining results because they don't understand how we actually create in our own lives. And the good news is that there is a growing counterculture to the hustle movement, and it's gaining a lot of momentum and producing really incredible results. Work less, produce more, and have your life and your joy too. So today I'm going to share the 4 laws of the anti-hustle culture. These are the fundamental principles that allow you to create extraordinary outcomes and reach your full potential without burning out or sacrificing what matters most. I'm David Bayer. I'm a recovering addict who went from being broke, spiritually bankrupt, and completely disconnected from my purpose to building a $40 million business and helping millions of people transform their lives. And here's the thing. In the first few years growing this business, I was following the hustle code and it burned me out. And as I've applied the principles that I'm going to be sharing with you today, I'm working way less, making way more, and having way more fun doing it. So let's get into it. All right, law number 1 is what I call the master equation. And literally, I've done almost 200 podcast episodes. If you force me to just teach you one thing that could change your life, it is this master equation. And this equation is literally the mathematics of how anything that you want to create in your life is produced, whether it's more money, better health, better relationships, attracting your soulmate, more spiritual connection, more clarity. Any change that you want to create in your life right now is a byproduct of applying this master equation. Now, before I give it to you, I want to talk to you about the bad mathematics that hustle culture has been peddling to us. Right? Hustle culture says something like desire, meaning you want to achieve something, plus hustle and grind equals desired result. In other words, if you want to take your desire and turn it into a result, you just got to work hard. But if that were true, then everybody working hard would be producing the results that they want. And we don't see that that's the case, right? Or if the idea is just outwork the person next to you, then there'd be a limited amount of winning opportunities in the market because only a handful of people would win because they would be working harder than everybody else. And the good news is this is not how something is created, but it is the rule that hustle culture is propagating to us. Another really good one by hustle culture is desire plus have enough time or have enough money equals desired result, right? You have to have time in order to produce results. It takes money to make money, right? These are all things that we've been told, but they're not true because we can see that there are some people who don't have a lot of money who all of a sudden end up creating extraordinary wealth. And we all have 24 hours in a day. And so time and money have nothing to do with whether or not you produce the results that you want to produce. The master equation is this, and this is literally a rider downer. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. I'm going to explain this to you. I'm going to justify it through neuroscience, through psychology, through metaphysics, through spiritual wisdom. This is the law. And what this law says is that whatever desire you have, if you can become non-resistant to the desire, 100% of the time, the results must produce themselves. So if your desire is for more financial prosperity and abundance, as long as you are non-resistant to you having more money, you will make more money. If you are wanting to improve your health, that's your desire. As long as you are not resistant to you improving your health, you'll get healthier. Now, what is the resistance? The resistance is a psychological habit, a thought, what we would call a limiting belief that is not congruent or in alignment with the result that you want to produce. So if you have a desire to make more money, but you believe that money is scarce or money is hard to make or money is for other people, but not for you, or like I said, in order to make money, you have to have money, that's going to create friction. And that friction is going to show up in distorted thoughts, a lack of ideas, a lack of intuition, a lack of motivation. It's going to program your unconscious mind for producing these limiting beliefs. Oh, see, I knew it. Money is scarce or money's hard to make. Your brain is a very powerful goal-achieving machine. And so it will figure out how to produce the result, but the result that it will produce is based off of what you think. So if you're having thoughts that are not in alignment with the desire itself, you can't produce the desired result. Change the thoughts and you change your reality, right? And this is just fundamental. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. #1 best-selling success and wealth book in the history of the world. He studied the most successful people in history at that time. And the one pattern he identified was that your thoughts create your reality. So in understanding the master equation, we can stop buying into all of these other bad rules that are being propagated into the marketplace and perpetrated against us by people who don't understand how it works. And it's a little bit tricky because every once in a while you can see someone produce a result through hustle and grind, but you have to stop and ask yourself, is the hustle and grind the reason they produce the result? #1, right? Because they could still be operating in some form of non-resistance and produce the result and be hustle and grinding. That's one way to do it, right? But I don't want to do it that way. I don't know about you. I'd like to do it with joy, with ease, with flow. The other thing is if you look at these hustle and grinders and the results that they produce, a lot of times they're not sustainable, right? So they produce the result temporarily, but then they fall into bankruptcy. They produce the result temporarily and then they fall back into chronic health conditions. Or the rest of their life is just a friggin' mess. So it's important to really pay attention closely to what the long-term results are. Do you want to model the person who is teaching you this hustle culture ideology? Or do you want to be more elegant about your approach? Now, a lot of people, when I talk about desire plus non-resistance equals desired result, go, well, wait a minute, so I can just have a desire and not do anything? That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying you can just meditate your way to the result that you want or law of attraction your way to the result. Action is absolutely necessary to produce the result. But the action is a byproduct of non-resistant. Because think about it for a moment. If you believe that you could get rich, wouldn't you be waking up every day excited and just taking action towards it? Like if I could go to the future and go, look, Cindy, look, Stan, I was already there. You're rich, you're healthy, you're with your soulmate, you're spiritually connected, you're clear on the things you're not clear on right now, you've overcome your anxiety, your depression, your addiction, it's done, right? Wouldn't you just relax about it now? And in that relaxed state, you'd have thoughts, you'd have ideas, you'd take action, and over time you would produce the result. So action is a part of it. Behavioral psychology tells us that what you believe produces thoughts on a moment-by-moment basis. Your thoughts create emotions in your body. Your emotions determine what action you do or do not take, and your actions produce the results. So actions are a part of these, what I call 5 primary drivers. But actions, intelligent action, is a byproduct of good feeling emotions, which is a byproduct of intelligent, aligned thoughts, which is a byproduct of strong belief systems, aligned belief systems. So there are a lot of different ways to produce a result. I mean, there's an infinite number of ways that people become rich or people become healthy or people become whatever it is that they're trying to become. Your way will be unique to you. That's part of the joy of life. It's an unfolding of like, wow, look at my unique journey. But that unique journey becomes available from a place of non-resistance. Desire plus non-resistance equals desired result. So you realize the real work, which is a complete shift away from the hustle culture, is not about outworking everyone else. It's about having desires and then identifying your resistance to them and then removing or transforming that internal resistance that you have to the desire that you want to create. I used to believe that in order to make money, I had to work really, really hard and do better than other people to produce more money. Henry Ford has this great quote. He says, the man who thinks he can and the man who thinks he can't are both right. So like, that's what I believe. So that's what I did. And so that became my reality. I'd grind at 12 to 16 hours a day trying to get ahead. But ahead of what? Like, it's not a competition among other people. This is my own unique journey. I'm like trying to get ahead of myself. That doesn't even make sense. And when you look at this grinding type of attitude that's produced by these unintelligent belief systems, it puts us in fight or flight. And so the set of ideas that we have and the actions that we take and the unconscious decisions that we make, they're actually coming from survival. And psychology tells us that if you're coming from stress, you'll actually create results that will produce stress. In other words, if you're stressfully trying to make money, the result that you will usually produce is that you won't make money because that'll create more stress for you. Whatever emotion you're having is going to create a result that's going to invoke that same emotion from you. But if you're coming from joy, you'll create results that will create joy. So it's not so much what you're doing. Doing is a byproduct of how you're being, right? Which is your thinking and your feeling. So if you're joyfully pursuing the creation of money, you'll create money because that will create joy for you. Really, one of the biggest, most profound ideas in success creation right now is that it's not about money or time or being smart enough or outworking the next guy or girl or even what's going on in the economy or how fast AI is evolving. None of that matters. All that matters is having a desire or a goal or a vision and then scanning to take a look at the rules or the resistance that you've put in place that are moving you into a state of suffering, and then questioning and transforming those beliefs. Because the natural byproduct of that is the result that you want. Law number 2, force versus forcing it. So the second law is understanding the difference between force and forcing it. And one of my mentors, a spiritual mentor, once told me, which really completely shifted my perspective, is that as human beings, we don't actually create anything, but there are times in our lives when we align with and participate in the creative force, which is the only true creative force that there is. So sometimes we describe this as the force of nature or the force of God or the force of the universe. But what he said is there's only one force that's responsible for all creation. He said, I want you to think about it. It's like you're a petal on a flower and the flower is blossoming. And so you're just blossoming with all of creation. On the other hand, hustle culture becomes this me identity. I'm not part of this superorganism that's unfolding and creating and evolving in these miraculous ways. It's up to me. And if I can work harder, if I can control all the circumstances around me, if I can just do things perfectly and outperform everyone else, then I can produce the result. That's the forcing it. So when you understand force versus forcing it, you start to realize that, wow, I actually play a very small role in anything that I want to create or anything that I ever have created. You know, I think about the success of this podcast. I could easily take credit for it. I could say I forced it, right? I could say I busted my ass, recorded 2 episodes a week for a year when nobody was even listening, but I stuck with it. I hustle and grind my way through it. I didn't give up. I learned how to optimize YouTube videos. Some of that is true. But that's not why it was successful. Because if I take all the credit, I can kind of imagine the force of the universe going, well, screw you, Dave. I created YouTube. I created the internet. Without me, you would be nothing. And that's the real truth. That's the real truth. What I have done in terms of taking action and the contribution that I've made to the success of this podcast is a grain of sand compared to the desert of activity that set me up and supported me in even being able to communicate this message to you here right now. I didn't create the phone that you're listening on or the device that you're listening on. Those are required too. And you know what? There were a lot of people that helped me with this podcast. I took Ali Abdal's coaching program. I learned how to optimize my videos. I have my content agency that I work with, Narrative, that's doing a great job helping me communicate what I want to communicate to you in an even more effective way. My video editor that I launched the podcast with, the great teachers whose work I often translate and help people understand in addition to my own teachings, Napoleon Hill, Neville Goddard, Abraham Hicks. Like when you look at it, I've done very little compared to the outcome that's produced. So when you force it, you cut off collaboration. You cut off energy and resources. You're no longer part of this extraordinary creative force. You're just trying to do it on your own. Arnold Schwarzenegger said it perfectly in his Netflix documentary. He said, people always said, you know, Arnie, you're such a self-made man. You know, you became the world's greatest bodybuilder, the world's greatest action hero, governor of California. And he says, I tell him, no, they're wrong. There's no such thing as a self-made man because you can't make yourself on your own. And so when you realize like, hey man, you're not alone. You wake up every day and you say, hey, I'm reporting for duty, sir, to whatever your higher power is. And you surrender your will to the will of that higher power. And you trust that the help, the resources, the ideas, the inspiration, the coincidences, the synchronicities, they will come. All you do is what you can do on a daily basis, but you're in deep, humble appreciation for the fact that this is a collaboration. Then you can move through each day more intuitively, more tuned in, more relaxed, and with more purpose. Now, Arnold also talked about this. He said the key to success is to, as he goes, relax. You have to be relaxed. You know, you can't relax if you're hustling at the same time. Those two don't go hand in hand. So align with the force and stop forcing it. Hey, it's David. Quick interruption to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. I want to let you know about an opportunity to go even deeper into this work together. If you have not yet, please check out the show notes. In there, we've got links to both our Mind Hack and our Whole Human Framework programs. Our Mind Hack course is an incredible framework. It's the foundation of everything that I teach on this show to help you understand how to become deeply aware of the subconscious programs that are holding you back and to teach you the technologies and frameworks to allow you to dramatically transform those belief systems and rewire your brain. Again, the Mind Hack program is our 7-day self-paced program. We also have our 12-week course, The Whole Human Framework. And we've got both of them right now bundled in a special offer for those of you who want to go big, want to go fast, and who understand that you don't want to put off another day of your full potential or holding on to unnecessary stress, anxiety, or suffering, but you want to be liberated from these habits of thinking and have a powerful living experience. Check out the link in the show notes. Jump on over to the website. Take a look at the programs and the extraordinary success stories of entrepreneurs just like you who have gone through these courses, and I will see you on the other side. And now, back to your regularly scheduled podcast episode. Law number 3, downstream versus upstream. So the third law is understanding that you're not swimming upstream to your goals. You're flowing downstream because your future is actually pulling you into it. You're not trying to push your way out to your future. Your future is pulling you into it. A lot of people think they're fighting their way to some future that they're trying to get to. But when you understand that your future is already in front of you, then you relax. When you treat it as an inevitability, when you say, hey, if it's within God's will for me to have this outcome, I know it will be given to me. And the key is to be non-resistant. You're focused on being non-resistant. You know that you're not needing to force it and that all creation is a result of the force and you are a part of that creation. Then you can flow downstream. And this was a distinction I learned and sort of took to the next level from Abraham Hicks, right? This woman, Esther Hicks, channels Abraham. Abraham's a very good teacher on law of attraction. Abraham says, you know, if you're upstream or downstream based on how you feel right now. So if you're trying to swim upstream, you're in a suffering state. You don't feel good. If you're flowing downstream, you feel good. Really simple kind of emotional guidance measurement. Now, we're not expecting things to just happen without action. I talked about this before, not just thinking that we can visualize our way to results and, you know, we just think about making a big bag of money and the Amazon delivery person is going to deliver it to your front door. We know we need to take action, but we don't need to do it from hustle and grind or pushing our way into the future or having to fight upstream. And so when you're no longer needing it to be a me-centered victory, but rather you're being in the humble service of creation itself, you're along for the ride. Now that future starts to pull you into it. And so you start to intuitively know when you need to do things and when you don't, when you should work, when you should rest, when it's time to pull an all-nighter, and when it's time to take a vacation, right? It's a balance. You're no longer grinding. You're taking fairly consistent action on a day-to-day basis and a week-to-week and month-to-month basis, but you're also servicing the other things in your life that give you energy, your family, your health, your personal care, your wellness, because this is all about energy maximization. Really creating what you want in terms of achieving your goal is a byproduct of energy maximization. And so a lot of times when I'm working with entrepreneurs and they're struggling in their business, I'm like, how's the rest of your life? Got a problem with your relationship? Where's the bound energy? We have to open up the energy. Hustle and grinding and forcing it and going upstream is really like getting a workout and eventually you run out of energy. But if you can maintain and sustain your entire life over an extended period of time, then you can produce anything over the course of time. You know, right now, I'm focused on building a company called Whole Inc. It's my 30-year plan to re-engineer humanity and civilization, to create new systems and structures that we can move over to, away from the old systems and structures. So I got to sustain myself. It's not about hustle and grinding for the next, week or two or month or even year. This is for the long haul. I can't be forcing it and swimming upstream, thinking it's all dependent upon me, that I got to chase this future in front of me. I had a conversation with a friend of mine where I was sharing my vision because we're in the middle of doing a big capital raise so we can launch this company. And I'm telling him everything that we're actually building right now. And he said, man, that's amazing vision, but it also feels heavy. It must be really hard to carry that burden. And my answer to him was, well, it used to be until I realized it's not my job. I'm just flowing to the future. My job is to hold the vision. I will do many things. We'll look back and see that I took consistent action that stacked up day in and day out over time. And someone would go, wow, that's an incredible body of work, all the action that you took. But there's a lot of other pieces that are involved, people who will show up, other aspects of this that will co-create the vision that I have, right? It's a cooperative effort. And so it's not all up to me. Now you might say, well, Dave, how do I know what to work on? I got a big vision for the future too, but I'm always struggling. I feel like I'm not getting enough done in the course of a day. And I would say, well, work on whatever's showing up in the present moment. Like if I'm actually being pulled towards my future, then my future is delivering to me the things I need to focus on right now. I don't need to figure out how to get further ahead. I'm kind of an order taker. My future is saying, work on this, work on this, work on that. And so I do. You know, I'll give you an example. We're in the process of building a new utility cryptocurrency, a sovereign way for people to transact in a new economy and also that gives them utility benefits, right? Like benefits for being a part of this new regenerative ecosystem. That's a vision I had like 3 years ago. And for a while I was like, well, should I work on it? Should I do the research? Should I not? And I had to check myself and go, well, if it feels like I'm pushing it, I'm not going to do it. If I feel inspired, I'm going to do it. So I do a little bit of research here and there, but I didn't really have anything in my universe showing up that said, hey, work on this now. So I focused on the things that were in front of me right now. Were they as sexy and exciting as the big vision? No, but they were the things that were showing up, reviewing copy, helping my team members grow and evolve, you know, showing up on coaching calls, all the things. And then one day I'm having lunch with a buddy of mine. He says, you got to connect with a friend of mine. I'm telling him about what we're creating with Whole Inc. and Whole Human. So didn't give him he didn't give me a lot of details. I meet with his buddy. Turns out this guy is a utility token expert. And he says, hey man, like you've got all the pieces to launch an incredible token for people that has utility and will give them a way to transact within a new regenerative economy. I'm like, damn straight. That's the vision showing up. That's my future showing up now. You don't get to your vision. Your vision shows up in the only moment that exists, which is your present. So now I'm working on it. Now it's time. So the idea is that I'm flowing to my future. I don't have to force it. I don't have to swim upstream. I can go downstream. And as I continue to progress, my future will deliver in front of me things that I can focus on. Same for you, right? Then and only then is it time to focus on those things. So you should not try to hustle and grind and eat up everything in your way like Pac-Man. That's not the way it works. Let it be brought to you. Focus on what shows up in your present moment because that's the only moment that really exists. Which brings me to the fourth and final law. Powerful state versus primal state. The fourth law really brings it all together. You've heard me allude to it a little bit, but let me dial it in for you. Like, let's put the cherry on top. It is understanding that when you're in hustle mode, you're operating from the sympathetic state of the nervous system. You're operating from fight or flight. I call it a primal state. But everything that you want comes from operating from a powerful state, the parasympathetic nervous system. When you're in a primal state, that's like stress, anxiety, overwhelm, anger, jealousy. It's when you're in indecision, procrastination, self-sabotage, controlling things. You can't produce anything great from that state that is sustainable. And even if you could, the journey of your life is going to suck. But a powerful state, that's where you feel calm, joy, curious, connected, excited. You're intuitive. That's where health is. That's where money is. That's where ideas are. That's where you close the gap between where you are and your future. It all happens from a powerful state. And you're always in one state of being or the other. Like right now, you can check in with yourself. You're in a powerful state or a primal state, right? You might be in a powerful state. If you're loving this episode, you might be in a powerful state. If you had a stressful morning, you might be in a primal state right now. You're always in one state of being or the other, and you're never in two states at the same time. So when you're hustling, you're operating from a primal state. You're in the sympathetic expression of the nervous system. It's fight or flight. And everything becomes harder. You lack ideas, you lack innovation, you lack creativity. Now, some people are wired for this approach. They actually look like they're in a primal state, but they're not. They're very unique. David Goggins is a great example of this. Seems built for hustle culture, right? Alex Hormozy might be another guy. And what they teach has a purpose. It serves a purpose, right? David Goggins is like, look, you can change who you are. I was an overweight loser that had no motivation in my life, and now I'm an unstoppable machine. He has a particular way of going through that transformation through physical exertion and insane level achievements. It's very inspirational, but it doesn't mean that should be your path. In fact, it probably shouldn't, because most people aren't innately wired for hustle culture. It's not supposed to be their default experience. But what we end up doing is comparing ourselves to other people who have achieved some level of outcome that we want to achieve. And so we look at the way those people have achieved that outcome and we think that that's the only way, but it's not. It's not. And science tells us that if you're operating from a powerful state, the parasympathetic expression of your nervous system, that's what produces success, joy, happiness, creativity, inspiration, health, and financial abundance. Now, don't mistake that with being lazy, Because if you actually look at lazy people, and if you look at when you're being lazy, or I look at when I'm being lazy, I'm actually in a primal state, right? I'm actually in stress, anxiety, I'm not good enough, things don't work out for me. So the key here is to notice how you're feeling. And if you're not feeling good, to use whatever tools you have access to. We got a zillion episodes on how to transform what is the only thing that determines how you feel, which is your thoughts and your belief systems on the show. But do whatever you can to go from a primal state back into a powerful state. There's even hustle culture that permeates some of my favorite, movie trilogies or groups of movies that I love. I think I'm a huge Avengers fan, right? But Captain America was a hustle and grinder. He had lines like, I could do this all day long. It's like, yeah, cool. Good for you. I don't want to, right? The Hulk has Hulk smash. But what we're talking about here is Doctor Strange. We're talking about understanding the invisible forces, the mystic arts, the energetic forces of thoughts and emotions and how they materialize into actions and results, and working at a root cause level so that we can literally open up other dimensions in our life and step through those doorways and those portals to create a different version of ourselves and to create a different life. You see the character of Doctor Strange, once he masters himself, he's got an insanely managed mind and emotional state. Like nothing shakes him. And he's able to manipulate reality as a result of that. He's undeterrable. He's unmessable with. He's unshakable. One of the great spiritual teachers who I studied, Paramahansa Yogananda, he wrote a book in the mid-1900s called Autobiography of a Yogi, which had a great impact on me. And this was a guy who mastered his mind and mastered the ability to manipulate reality in very much the same way that Christ is documented to have been able to. And Yogananda says, the true yogi stands unshaken amidst the crashing of worlds. Right? What he's saying is that the person who truly has mastered themselves, it doesn't matter what's going on around them, they're unshakable. And that's your ability. That's what's available for you, regardless of what's going on around you, to maintain a powerful state, to be Doctor Strange in the midst of chaos. And by the way, I think it's the most valuable skill that you can develop, especially in the way that the world is evolving. That's actually how you're able to create powerfully. I heard Alex Hormozi joke about people who do their morning routine, saying your morning routine, should just be getting shit done. And you know what? That might be true for Alex Hormozi, where he's at right now in his life, or his trauma, or his limiting beliefs, or not preventing him from getting the work done, or self-sabotage, moving into procrastination. That's great for him. I'm sure he has other limiting beliefs, probably contributing to his hustle culture attitude. But if that works for him, I think that's great. I'm not here to judge it. I'm just saying it doesn't work for most people. So rather than trying to hustle and grind more, learn how to metabolize the trauma and the limiting beliefs that are moving you into the fight or flight response, that sympathetic expression of your nervous system. And sometimes that's done through a morning routine. Now, if you're using a morning routine to avoid actually doing the work because your day is calling to you, I get Alex's point, right? But it's important. The root cause is learn how to operate from the powerful state that is your natural birthright. If you want to create that outcome, whatever it is, create that outcome, right? More money, more health, more joy, bigger business, more impact, but go about it more elegantly, right? That's the way to do it sustainably, and the way to do it with more ease and more flow. So these 4 laws, right? The master equation, force versus forcing it, flowing downstream instead of swimming upstream, and operating from a powerful state instead of a primal state. These aren't just business principles. They're the fundamental mechanics of how you create anything meaningful and sustainable in your life. The hustle culture wants you to believe that the only way to win is to outwork everybody else. But I'm here to tell you guys, there's a more elegant way, and I'm speaking from lived experience. A way that honors your energy, that honors your relationship, that honors your health and your deeper purpose. Most people who pedestal hustle culture are taking their relationships, their health, their spirituality to, like I said before, the sacrificial altar of success, because they don't understand these principles. But you don't have to choose. You can create extraordinary outcomes while actually enhancing every other area of your life. So listen, I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I loved sharing it with you. Do me a favor, leave me a comment or a rating or a review. And the only thing that I ask is subscribe and hit that bell icon so that we can be on this journey together and get this message out to more people. It's the only thing I ask, because it's the only way the show can grow. And it's the greatest sign of thanks that my team and I can receive. So I love you very much, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Hey, it's David. Hop on over to davidbear.com. Click right here. There's also a link in the show notes, and sign up for our newsletter. You'll get immediate access to my free Mind Hack ebook, as well as a couple of trainings to help you master the inner game. This is a great way to stay informed and be a part of our community and be notified of special announcements. Click below, head on over to the website, get subscribed. If you loved this video, make sure you check out this one or this one, and I will see you in the next video.